around 100. I'm very proud to state that many of our fellows come from reputed universities like Harvard, Stanford, Cambridge, LA, and colleges in India like Stephens, Xavier's, IITs, IIMs, and those who have been employed with PwC, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, Chartered Accountants, all those who have been in corporate sector, these youths have left their highly paid lucrative jobs and have joined SBI Youth for India Fellowship to give back to society. I will share while I was interacting with these 550 shortlisted candidates, I asked many of them who were engineers, why you are leaving your engineering career and coming to this rural development sector. But most of them were telling that we took engineering as a subject because of compulsion from parents' side. We were not interested in this topic. Apart from that, what I am inspired by these youths is that in spite of their high education, in spite of having highly lucrative jobs, they have left all of them to do something for the marginalized, to do something for the nation. And even after completing fellowship, being in the development sector shows that there are passionate youth in the present generation. I have a fellow during this year who did his post-graduation in management from a reputed US university and was working in Bank of America as a credit analyst for 4 years. He left that job. He joined as the SBI Youth for India Fellow, and he is in Kalahandi district, Orissa, mobilizing women and forming self-help groups, and he has given livelihood opportunity to more than 7 women there. There are so many inspiring stories like that, which I think I should share. Due to paucity of time, I may not be able to share with all of you, but I can tell it's a matter of great pride that educated youth are showing an inclination for social, rural development and entrepreneurship. If India is having unemployment, it can be resolved to a great extent only by educated youth becoming social entrepreneurs. I have with me a fellow who had done his MTech from IIT Chennai, mechanical engineer, who joined us as SBI Youth for India Fellow, and he was posted to a tribal village in Gujarat. He was working with the bamboo craftsmen, and because of his mechanical engineering background, he made a contraption or small equipment which could reduce the drudgery of bamboo craftsmen. And even after his 13-month fellowship, he has gone back to the Dangs district, Gujarat, and he is still there with them, started a social enterprise, making so many things out of bamboo, and he has given livelihood opportunity to 6 to 7 bamboo craftsmen. There are many stories, and also I should share that more than 70% of those who join SBI Youth for India Fellowship during the last 2 years are girls. That shows that everyone, like most of the educated people, want to do something for the society. Now coming back to CSR, I shared this SBI Youth for India Fellowship because I found it is very, very inspiring. In spite of my 33 years of banking experience after joining the SBI Foundation, when I saw for myself what these youngsters were doing in remote villages, be it in Rajasthan, be it in Orissa, be it in Northeast, these are stories which highly inspired me than anything during the last 33 years in my banking career. I also request some of the youth sitting here to just see whether you can also become an SBI Youth for India Fellow. Coming back to CSR, as 2% has been mandated, it is expected that more than 30 to 40,000 crores will come into the development sector. But what has happened is that over the last 3 years, most of this money has gone to industrialized states because most of the manufacturing companies have done social initiatives around their area of operations. So it is time that corporates thought of spreading their interventions into areas like Northeast India or various places which are marginalized or not much developed. When we think about CSR, we should not think that it is only corporates that have the social responsibility. We should define it in a much broader sense to mean collective social responsibility. It means at every level, everyone has to be socially responsible. The students sitting here, the youth sitting here may be thinking what we have to do now, or whether we will start doing being socially responsible only after getting a corporate career. I think we have to rethink on this aspect. As regards corporates, the 2% has been mandated, but then all corporates have to go beyond this limit to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. And we should think that corporate social responsibility is not sitting about these 2%. At every level, we have to be responsible means that the corporate governance has to be of a very great extent, very high standard. When there are conflicts of interest, which we see in many organizations, when we see labor issues in many organizations, we have to keep in mind that CSR is not very active in such organizations. Even at the board level, when the directors are not performing their role properly, which is expected of them, I will tell that CSR is weak in such companies. Coming to students, the youths who are sitting here, but what we should do now, I'll just take 5 minutes to read out what I had prepared, what youth should do, especially the students of Lovely Professional University. For the first time in the history of India, in the last 400 years, our country has received the attention of the world. India is projected to be one of the leaders, fueling global economic growth in the years ahead. Clearly, much needs to be done to improve the condition of the vast majority of the people. Today's generation of youth is the largest the world has ever known. 1 in every 3 people alive today is under the age of 30, and around 90% of young people are living in developing countries, mainly Asia and Africa. But what kind of future, what have the youth to do now? This is where the Sustainable Development Goals come in. These 17 goals, such as no poverty, zero hunger, affordable and clean energy, define the global priorities for people and the planet for the next 11 years. The focus is on eliminating poverty and reducing inequality to have everyone benefit from development and leave no one behind without harming the planet further. So what we have to do? Any change starts with an individual action and is shaped by our daily behavior. This includes choices about the way we live, behave, produce, consume, and invest. Our decisions today can contribute to having enough clean water, better air, healthier lifestyle, so that ultimately we all live longer and productive life. Everyone can make a difference, for example, by saving electricity, buying from companies with sustainable practices, recycling paper and plastic, using green appliances and energy. Such actions may be small on their own, but when hundreds or thousands of you do, they become huge. Beyond your own choices, think also about your role in your country's present and tomorrow. You are India's future entrepreneurs, social workers, scientists, doctors, engineers, teachers, and leaders. And maybe that is what some of you already are. Some of these professions are not anymore defined by age. Even a 15-year-old can become an entrepreneur, something unheard of 30 years ago. If there is a message I would like you to take with you, it is daily action, continuous commitment, and voice your ideas whenever you can. So live with the passion to make a difference. However you can, wherever you go, whatever path you choose. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, sir, for your moving words. Moving ahead, allow me to introduce Mr. Vivek Iyer, Vice President, Head, Product Management, Kony, India. Experienced professional with a background in consulting, program and product management, he has an expertise in product roadmap definition, features and user experience for a multitude of digital products, customer empathy and strategic insight into digital market trends, and running product engineering. He helps provide solutions to business problems with his out-of-box thinking, experience in using technology as a tool to provide business value to customers and stakeholders. He leads teams that have significantly improved business metrics at Fortune 500 organization. With a huge round of applause, please welcome Mr. Vivek Iyer.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that introduction. So before, a lovely set of talks we've been hearing today. So it's been a real great privilege for me, not only as a presenter, but also as a listener. You know, I think in life, I think you learn a lot from experiences, what other people do. So today, I'm going to talk to you about pretty much a little bit on the lines of what Mani was talking about how technology is giving us so many opportunities, right? How we are able to move forward. There are so many opportunities for us to change society in many different ways. And what I'm going to spend some time on today is talking about certain scenarios that Kony as a company is doing to sort of jump on this boat. And you can use this as an example to see what is happening around the world. So for people who don't know, Kony is an organization that builds applications, mobile applications, web applications, bot applications, artificial intelligence applications, augmented reality, all the buzzwords you can think of, we try to dabble in that. Right, so keeping that in mind, I'll just run through a couple of scenarios. The first scenario that I'll talk to you about is basically what happens when you go to a hospital, right? So if you're a fan of old Hindi movies like I am, there's a typical scene, maybe it's Amitabh or maybe it's Mithun Chakravarti or somebody, he gets hit and the mother takes him to the hospital and the hospital is like 8 hours pass and we don't know what's happening. The mother is sitting outside and then he comes out, he becomes better and then he beats up the villain. That's a regular 80s fare. I mean, a lot of you are younger, but that's how the 80s movies were. But let's look at what technology can do to help Mithun's mother, if you were to just use an analogy. So, for example, what would you do when you go to a hospital? You get an MRN number, you get admitted. There's something called an operation prep. Then you go to the operation theater, and then you sort of do post-operation recovery. I mean, this is a typical cycle. It's called, peri-operative care, essentially, is a technical term. So what we are doing here is we are trying to help the patient's family track the patient better using technology that we have. Right, so what would be the first thing that you would do? In this scenario, you can see that I'm trying to take the MRN number, which is like an admission number, and then I'm trying to align it with the phone such that the phone now associates the person to the patient, essentially. So what this basically does is it has associated the app, the mobile app is now associating the patient, and we are now establishing a relationship. We do barcode scanning and things of all that nature, but now this patient is essentially registered, right? And when this patient is registered, he gets a unique identity or a unique identification number, which can then be passed on to other people, right? Maybe it's a family member who's sitting outside who can start referencing this registration number and move ahead, right? So that's step number one. We talked about 4 steps. So I'll quickly run through the other steps. So we have registered the patient now. Thereafter, we have some rules, right? I mean, you don't want to be messaging the parents outside for every single thing, right? So you have to define a rule. So here what we are trying to do is we are trying to define the rule saying that as soon as the patient gets into the operation theater, I wanted to inform. So basically, how do you know that the patient has gotten into the operation theater? We use technologies like beacons. If you're familiar, a beacon is a device that you can have, say, in an operation theater or in a wherever. I mean, in a mall. As soon as you walk past it, what happens is it sends out a notification saying that you have registered yourself to the beacon. So here we are trying to actually make a rule which says, you know, as soon as the person enters the prep area, notify me, right? So that's something that we'll do, and this is how you are sort of defining the rule. As we move forward, what then happens is, once the rules are created, we sort of move forward and we now look at what happens when the patient is moving, right? So in this particular scenario, what's happening is now the patient is moving, and you can actually see on the device, as the patient moves, the location changes based on the beacon update. For example, a beacon is a device, like I was telling you, there's a beacon, imagine it's like your a Bluetooth device, if you will, right? So as soon as you walk in, say from your drawing room to your living room, suppose you have a Bluetooth speaker to listen to music, you can actually move the speaker from one particular music device to another one. Right? Similarly, I mean, as you move from, say, a reception area to operator area, it actually says over there, I'm not sure how many people can read, but it actually says that, you know, I am the preparation area. Now, the patient is actually moving, and as the patient moves, you will see that the update happens, and from the prep area, you actually end up going to the operator area or the reception, what have you, right? So this gives a clear indication that the status of the patient is getting updated, right? So again, trying to help the family out, make sure that, you know, in a tense time, they're able to sort of understand what the updates are for the patient's scenario. So if you just see in a little while, right at the corner, you'll notice that the prep area changes to operation theater. So that's what that happened just there, right? So that is one of the indicators of how we are trying to. At any point, you can actually see, you know, when the person went to the prep area, when the person went to the operation area. So it really helps, and this is actually a real-time scenario we have built for a hospital where we are actually looking to tell them. So now we are just looking at back to Amitabh Bachchan's mother, right? So as she is waiting outside, in this case maybe it's the father. So as he is waiting outside, you'll notice that he suddenly receives a notification which indicates that, you know, the person has moved from point A to point B, right? So that is the power, and these are interestingly, I mean, these are very real scenarios. This is an application that we built, I would say, in the last 6 to 12 months for a hospital, and this could be anywhere in the world. In this case, it was built for a hospital in the US, but my imagination would be that this could apply pretty much anywhere, right? It could apply to any n number of things, and these are technologies that you can all leverage very, very effectively as you move forward. So this is a very real scenario. So that is number one. So number one, we talked about how we leverage beacons, how we leverage you know, technology and notifications to help a patient and his family as they traverse the process of surgery, essentially. So moving forward, the next thing I'd like to show you, and again, this is an example of, you know, how the app looks like. You can also sort of label where the patient is at. So if I know, for example, where the patient is, we can clearly indicate this is where the patient is, and so on. And again, we use a diverse set of technology here. And I know a lot of you are not computer science, but, you know, since Mani did a voice vote and I heard a loud CS gang, there is a lot of CS, very deep technology we use. We use, you know, third-party components like Blue Vision. There's a lot of Mani software, which is AWS, Kinesis, and then we have Kony Stack as well. So essentially, a very high-level view, but this is how the whole technology works. So that's number one. Scenario number two that I'll talk about today is called cognitive speech assisted research. Now we saw a little bit of this in the whole Alexa video, but in this particular scenario, I'm talking about a very specific thing that we did for a company called Michaels. Now, Michaels, for all you folks, is like a stationery store, right? If you want to buy paint, if you want to do artwork, if you want to do supplies, art supplies, you want to order things like that, that's the company, that's the shop you go to. It's a worldwide store, and basically you try to sort of leverage the technology. So here we are using voice-based search, and here you just ask a bunch of questions, and very quickly Michaels will give you a response. So I'll run through a quick video. Now I'll not run through the entire video because there's a paucity of time. But here, if you look at it, so the person just asked for art supplies, and a list of all the art supplies were provided.
Show me art supplies.
And a lot of you may think that this is no big deal because it's just art supplies. I mean, your phone, OnePlus phone or whatever already does this. But what is interesting here is the understanding of or training, right? A lot of things that we have to do is to train a particular engine about what it should understand. So here, for example, we have to train it to understand what is red paint. Later on in the video, you'll see how it teaches you what projects you can do, and based on a particular project, you can actually choose the items that you have to select, and so on. So in this particular case, if for example you wanted to do a project to paint or use slime and things like that, it'll tell you projects with slime and so on. So essentially, the training of the
videos about slime.
and also training is a big category of this whole conversation. So that's the story about bots and cognitive research. The other final thing I'll show you, and I'll just take a couple of minutes. And here we are talking about augmented reality, right? We saw again a lot of it in previous videos, but in this case, for example, what I'm trying to do is this is a photo frame. Now, this is a regular old photo frame that everybody has, but a lot of people would want to see how their pictures look. So you take the phone, and if you observe carefully, in this video, as soon as you sort of layer it on top of this particular frame on the left, it replaces it with your family's pictures, thereby indicating that this is how your photos will look when you place it in this particular system. So that is one example of how you can use augmented reality. This is again another area we are focusing. This is an application we just built. And similarly, I would even say there are other areas in retail, for example. We constantly try and check. In this area, for example, it's taken a particular a photo frame. It's telling you all the dimensions, what happens, what kind of glass it's using, what is the sort of the picture look like, and you can fundamentally even buy how will it look on the, when you sort of have a stand and things like that. So a lot of educational ideas are provided. And the last slide I'll quickly go through is in the case of industrial equipment. So here you have a bunch of pipes and boilers that run a lot of AC vents and things like that in a large building. Here you can see that it tells you how the fluids are moving, what is the gauge, what is the meter, what is the value, and also these are things, very scenarios that are very interesting, very futuristic, that we are sort of actively building at Kony, and these are just a few examples. But notion is, I think there is a lot that all of you can do as bright young minds of India, and dabble in these technologies and sort of build a career, and not only improve your own careers, but improve our own country and take it to sort of the next level. So that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your informative share. Let me now have the privilege to introduce Brigadier H. Chakrabarti, Executive Vice President, Hinduja Foundation. He is a thorough professional and an outstanding leader. He was a director in Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies. Brigadier Chakrabarti also served all over India and abroad as head of faculty at College of Defence Management, Secunderabad. Ladies and gentlemen, let us have this opportunity to listen to Brigadier Chakrabarti with a big round of applause, please.
talk on something that is quite dear to me, which I have experienced over the last 40 years of service. You know, this morning we've gone through artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and a lot of other fundas. And they're very, very important and very, very pertinent. And my very learned speakers before me have told you the way things are going to be. But I'd like you to focus on 70% of our countrymen. He gets a bus one day, once in a day. He's got no Uber to call. He lives in a village far, far away from any metro. He's got no Airbnb to go to. He's got no Amazon who will deliver where in roads and tracks are not there. So we have to take cognizance and remember that there are great many people, the majority of our countrymen, who don't have access to all these new technologies which they can use. It's very important to you that when you go into your careers, that you don't lose this connect with what's really happening in the rest of the hinterland of India. And that is why you see these revolutions happening every time there's an election or somebody is doing a loan waiver. They're all, short-term sort of solutions. And one has to look at how you can, over time, really build up and improve the quality of life of your countrymen. You look at any nation in the developed world, everyone has a base quality of life. But in our country, still, there's a vast disparity between privileged people and underprivileged. You're very privileged to be here, the students of this university. You've got the resources to come to this very great institution, which is so beautifully organized with all types of faculties to give you all types of learnings. And you must use this learning and experience which you get over here to help those who are less privileged. I won't take more time. I'll show you a video which we have of what we're doing to let you understand actually what it's all about. Because I think just talking is not going to really get through to you at this stage of the proceedings. When I am sitting in the economy class and all my speakers in the first class and business class have already gone through. So I'll just take you through the video and you can see how involved, structured, and very precisely you have to tackle a problem. It's not just throwing money and expecting something to happen. You have to work at it as methodically as doing any sort of problem, as doing any sort of engineering problem. So we'll just go through it. It's in a storyline.
Today is unlike any other day for Janu and his wife Veenu, farmers living in the tribal areas of the Jauhar Taluka in western Maharashtra. Because today their son Prabhakar is coming back home. Prabhakar is one among millions of villagers who are forced to leave their homes to work in nearby towns and cities. Dependence on rain-fed cultivation and lack of livelihood opportunities has been driving the stress migration for decades. But not so for Prabhakar anymore, because something incredible is happening in the Jauhar Taluka, and he is returning home for good. For centuries, tribals living in the Jauhar Taluka have been dependent on rain-fed agriculture, which was marred by low productivity and degraded natural resources. Food scarcity and seasonal migration had become perennial features of the region.
माझ्याकडे थोडीफार जागा आहे त्यात मी भात शेती लावतो तर त्या भात शेतीमध्ये मला 10-12 हजार येतात. तर ह्या महागाईच्या जमान्यात 10-12 हजारात माझा संसार काही चालत नाही.
Depressed earnings was not the only problem plaguing these families. Drinking water was not easily accessible. The children were being deprived of school and education. Medical and sanitation infrastructure was almost non-existent. Life was precarious for both young and old.
माझी पोरं आजारी काही पडायची तर आम्हाला जव्हार किंवा पिपळचे त्या ठिकाणी जावं लागायचं. पैसे खूप लागायचे म्हणजे भाडं किंवा खर्च असं.
Unlike Prabhakar, there are many in the Jawhar Taluka with no land of their own. Their condition was much worse.
माझी परिस्थिती अशी होती की माझ्या आई वडिलांची जागा नव्हती. आम्ही दोघे बायको आणि मी बाहेर जायचं कामाला. काम मिळलं तर करा केलं ते हळाहळ होतं. कारण काम किती घराला माणसाला 5-6 दिवस बाहेर काम मिळत नाही.
The region was in need of an all-round intervention and it needed it immediately.
We started work in Jawhar district sometime around 2015. What we have done is to adopt villages in this predominantly underprivileged area with the idea that our contribution will enable the people of this region to come up in a more progressive way, both from the economic point of view and the social point of view.
Under the comprehensive rural transformation program, over 2,500 families across 5 villages who were in need of immediate intervention were identified in the first phase. In partnership with niche NGOs, the foundation introduced localized solutions that would work in the taluka. Farmers were provided with need-based training and agri-inputs such as high-quality paddy, vegetable, as well as fruit saplings.
The essence of our program is to enhance the income generation abilities of the local communities in order that they stay put in their villages and avail of all the medical and educational facilities which we are upgrading here.
हिंदूजा फाउंडेशनची मीटिंग झाली, तिथे आम्ही गेलेलो होतो. तर त्यांनी सांगितलं की तुम्ही मोगरे लावा, त्यात खूप फायदा आहे सर. मला त्यांनी दाखवलं की असं लावायचे आणि इतकं अंतर ठेवायचं. तर 6 महिन्यातच त्याला कळी येऊ लागली. सध्या आता 1 ते 1.5 किलो कळी येते. तर सध्याच्या भावाला 400-500 रुपये रोज मला मिळतात.
That's over 100% jump in the family's income compared to previous years. Along with increased income, it was necessary to improve the nutritional status of the tribal families. This was made possible through the introduction of vegetable cultivation. Apart from home-level consumption, the vegetable cultivation helped augment the family's income by a further ₹12,000 in the first season. But year-round cultivations such as these require water throughout the year, which was made available by construction of temporary check dams with the help of sandbags.
हिंदूजा फाउंडेशनने आम्हाला रिकाम्या गोणी सिमेंटच्या दिल्या आणि त्या सिमेंटच्या गोणीमध्ये आम्ही वाळू आणि माती घालून हा बंधारा बांधला. तसेच खरोंडा या गावात सुद्धा एक बंधारा बांधलेला आहे. पिंपळशेतला 2 बांधलेले आहेत. ओझरला सुद्धा 2 आहेत.
Prakash is part of a group of farmers who were advised by the foundation to synergize their efforts through community-based farming. Together, the group owns 5 acres of land where they cultivate multiple crops throughout the year.
जसे हाताचे बोट 5 आहेत, ते 5 बोटांनी काम केल्यानंतर ते हाताला मजबूत येते. त्याचप्रमाणे जे आमचे ग्रुप आहे त्या ग्रुपने एकत्र काम केल्यानंतर आम्हाला मजबूत झाले.
Another initiative undertaken by the foundation in concert with grassroots NGOs and experts was the development of tree-based farming or wadis.
Wadi, typically a 1 acre wasteland, being converted by adding biomass and water resource development. 2 rows of forestry trees along with mango and cashew. We also add in short gestation crops like vegetable cultivation and floriculture. After 5 to 6 years, the fruit will start getting income. Meanwhile, the family is also getting income from the floriculture as well as vegetables.
In each of these interventions, the foundation would provide hand-holding to the families for the first 2 seasons, after which the families would be taking complete responsibility of their cultivation, thereby making the interventions self-sustaining.
जेव्हा हे आम्ही बागायत केल्यानंतर आमच्याकडे जे पैसे यायचे त्याच्यानंतर ते पैसे आम्ही त्या पोरांना शाळेत पोहोचवायचो. त्यांना जे कपडे वगैरे लागायचे ते सुद्धा द्यायचो. दिल्यानंतर ते पोरं सुद्धा खुशी खुशीने राहायचे आणि आमचा जो परिवार आहे हा सुद्धा खुशी खुशीने राहायचा.
Upgrading the local schools was yet another important objective of the Hinduja Foundation. Today, 5 schools from the region are being transformed into innovative learning centers.
It's really heartening to 21st century world.
Outside, Jivya has been contracted to repair the school furniture. Like Jivya, other landless laborers and women-headed families were provided with seed capital, training, as well as suitable income-generating opportunities. Today, these families have sustainable means of providing for their loved ones and are able to lead a dignified life.
एवढा मला भारी वाटतंय का मला गावातल्या गावात आणि घरातल्या घरात काम मिळालंय. त्यांनी आणि हिंदुजा फाउंडेशन आणि बायनगर संस्थेचे मी आभारी आहे. असाच गरिबाची सोय करतील आणि करू द्या.
Another focus area was empowering of women through self-help groups, where they were provided relevant training and introduced to savings and credit. It was heartening to see the tribal women being equally passionate in acquiring new skills and contributing to their families' welfare.
We developed a unique, sustainable, integrated livelihood model, which we call the PIPA model, Public-Private People Partnership, which synergizes the capabilities and abilities of all the stakeholders involved.
A successful implementation of the P4 model is the upgradation of the primary healthcare centers at Nandgaon and Sakur, which are being carried out in coordination with the Hinduja Hospital and the Collectorate of Jauhar. Since 2012, the Hinduja Foundation has also deployed mobile medical vans across the region. Over 1 lakh patients have already been treated at these hospitals on wheels since the program began.
त्या गाडीमध्ये डॉक्टर असतात, नर्स असतात, तिथे गोळ्या औषधं देतात आणि रक्त चेक करतात. म्हणून आमचा खर्चही वाचतो आणि वेळ पण वाचतो.
Along with healthcare, the foundation is ensuring that drinking water is easily accessible within the villages. The families are also being encouraged to build toilets within their houses. Students from Hinduja College lend a helping hand in the noble cause.
When we set out to change the lives of such a huge community, it is very important to see and integrate all the aspects of the development for the community. That is, setting up livelihood interventions, agricultural interventions, water resource management, setting up a sanitation program, improvement in the drinking water facilities, community healthcare, women empowerment, and all other aspects of the community, so that there's a 360-degree development and overall enhancement of the community.
The impetus for this program is the great vision of our founder, Sri Parmanamji, which said that all economic activity for the downtrodden should be self-sustaining. And that is what is driving the ethos behind our program.
What we believe is that we are creating an example which you can then reproduce in hundreds of other parts of India.
तर आता मी आई वडिलांबरोबर मी घरीच राहतो, व्यवस्थित देखभाल करतो. मोगऱ्याची लागवड केली तर मला आता चांगलंच उत्पन्न मिळतं, म्हणून मी आता शहरात जाणारच नाही. आणि कधी गेलो तर कपडे घेण्यासाठी किंवा पिक्चर बघायलाच जाईन.
Thank you very much for listening and observing this little video. And I hope you take home the message that CSR is a very involved and very serious business, as serious as any other
activity which one does. And I hope all of you are motivated to join in at some time, either now or later on in your lives, and help those 70% of people who don't have access to a lot of what we consider very normal things for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your motivating words. Last but not the least, now let me have the privilege to introduce Mr. Tarun Singhal, Vice President, Head Engineering, ISC Corporation. He is a BTech Computer Science graduate from IIT BHU, Varanasi, and has over 29 years of experience in the communication software industry. He has worked with Hughes since 1993 in various technical and management roles. In his current role, he is responsible for engineering and R&D organization at HSC and is extensively involved in the transformation of engineering organization from the traditional communication services to digital and solution-focused organization. Prior to HSC, he worked with Bharat Electronic Limited and CMC Limited. Let us invite on the dais with a big round of applause, Mr. Tarun Singhal.
So, thank you, and thank you for this introduction. Pleasure to be here, and very excited to be part of this session. I would say it's an honor to be here to be addressing this. This is the last session, so I will, in a way, be summarizing a lot of what we have been hearing earlier, how the technology has been disrupting, and why do we say that technology has been disrupting last so many years, especially last 10 years, and that's what probably I'll be summarizing, and I'll talk of some of the things that we are doing in technology, as it was mentioned earlier, how the technology is changing the lives of the people, how is it improving the customer experience, how is it making things more efficient, how is it making things cheaper and better to do. We'll talk of some of those things. So I think a lot of this talk that I'm going to cover is going to be summarizing of what you have heard earlier. So feel free to relax, and this is the last session. As I start, let me quickly show you some of the slides. This is again, won't take too long really. There's a huge change that has happened in the what technology has brought on in the last 10 to 15 years, and just one single slide which shows, which was probably also mentioned in a brief earlier, is if you look at it at the companies who have the GDP wise, in the revenue wise, the value wise, the top 10 companies which were there's only probably Microsoft was there as one of the technology companies in the top 10 companies in the world. If you look at 2018, there are 7 companies out of 10 companies which are technology companies. And that's why we say, and somebody mentioned earlier, you are in a very exciting time when you are working on a technology. You can see that top 10 companies of the world are technology companies, and that's means that the technology is something that is driving this world today. Even in India, if you look at it, not just the technology companies like Core, Microsoft, or these, in every area of the industry, every vertical of the industry you will look at it, there are technology companies which are there. And these are becoming one of the big billion-dollar companies now in India. Take an example. You look at Oyo. Oyo is a room. It's one of the all of us use Oyo now. They have transformed the way the hotel industry works. They don't own a single hotel, but all of us book hotels or buy hotels or through Oyo. They are the biggest in the hotel industry. Baidu is changing the way the education is done, and by the way, even the worldwide TDX and all of Udemy, they are changing how we study, how do we use it. It's a education industry, how the technology is applying and changing this in the industry. Similarly, Swiggy and so on, Zomato, and in any industry you take, so education, food delivery, e-commerce, finance, B2B commerce, technology is changing it. And it is not just that these industries are applying the technology. What we are seeing is technologies they are applying, telling how the business should be done. And that's how you have to start seeing it, in my view, it's not that how do I use the technology, or it is actually how do I use technology to solve a problem and how it should be done. And that's what these guys are doing it, and this is what really is transforming the industry completely. This, you can take a look at it. We'll not go into much on it, but these are all the buzzwords that you hear. These are the hype cycle which is there. The Gartner publishes this report every year. What are the new technologies which are coming? You will see a lot of this AI related technologies. You will see a lot of this blockchain, IoT, all of these, how they are maturing and how they see maturing over the few years. Some of the things that we are focusing on, and I'm going to now focus on some of those, especially of these related to AI, ML, IoT, blockchain, 5G, edge computing. Now again, the focus is really going to be more of what we are doing, how we are changing, and really using these technologies to solve some of the problems, to change some of the, make things easier for this. First, I start with AI. Again, AI is an industry, AI is a technology. I did my engineering in '89 and I studied an AI subject. It's been there, I think, since 1959. 1956 is when the term AI, artificial intelligence, was coined by John McCarthy. So it's not something, artificial intelligence is a new term. It has been there in the academia for so long. However, there's one major change which is happening, and one of the things that is changing now, and why we say you guys are very lucky to be in this exciting time, because you can use all these technologies to make really transform certain things. And I give you examples which is there. Why is AI suddenly become so hot now when it's been there in the academia for so many years? The thing that has been happening is, I believe, is one, there is a lot of computing power which is available now. If you look at even our phone itself has so much of computing power. Probably if I look at 30 years back when I did my engineering, we had a large room, huge room with a supercomputer, with the large computers there. Probably that same, more computing power is available on this laptop or even my phone today, what we had in the large room. So that's a huge amount of those computing power with the GPUs and with the cloud, big data cloud that's available, which is required by AI technologies for me to process, for the processing capability which is required. Second thing which we believe which is happening is there's a voluminous amount of data which is available with us. For any artificial intelligence or any machine learning thing to work, it needs a lot of data to process, to learn, and that's what something which is changing there now. And that has been possible with this IoT technologies coming in. There are devices, so many devices which is available, which is generating voluminous amount of data. For example, itself, if you look at it, I mean, probably generating a huge amount of data with the band that we wear. It will be counting the number of steps, what I'm doing, what my sleep pattern is. So every individual data that all goes into the cloud, and then that's available for the process to learn about people, to what they do, the behaviors. So all of that data which is there is something that is changing it, and that is making the AI possible today. The same technology, the learnings, the academia, whatever is produced, the knowledge of the AI is getting applied to using this data and the processing power to solve some real problems. It is, as we said, it is solving problems in all the different areas. In the industrial, there is a huge amount of application which is possible of the AI technology with a lot of sensors, with the IoT, all the sensors generating voluminous amount of data. You can use that data to take it to the cloud, process that data to do predictive maintenance, which can help really make the industry more efficient. If it reduces the downtime of the industry, the machinery, that can be a big impact on the production capability. One example. The computer machine vision, we all know how connected cars, the self-driving cars, the connected cars, or even in the health industry, for example, there's the IBM has come with the technology which is there, which can read your health reports, it can analyze your health reports, and can make health doctors make a better decision on what path to take in solving or what approach to take, or what medicine path to take to address the health issue which is there. So in all those areas, this is being applied there. Speech NLP, we saw that Alexa example earlier. The speech, not only that, but in all of us use the support system which is there, the customer care system, or the customer care answering our call. That's a huge transformation that is possible. One of the areas, for example, we're doing is we collect all the we collect a log of all this the voice calls which any the customer care executive does that, and using those customer care executive calls, we can convert those voice calls into a text call and later analyze those calls to see what are the key issues that people are reporting. And say, for example, doing the trend analysis, we can figure out that these are the 5 areas which most of the people are calling making these customer calls for. And if you can address some of those, that can be a huge impact on the business or improving the customer experiences was mentioned earlier. This is just a slide, I'll skip this. It was more talking about what the AI would really make an impact in the terms of GDP. So probably around, there are various reports available which talks of 15 to 20 trillion impact the worldwide, and especially China and in Asia is going to be there. That's going to be there. Some of the areas that, as I said, we are working on is image analytics. A lot of us, at least at HSC, at CUBES, we are focusing on analytics, especially image analytics, video analytics, data analytics, audio analytics, and some of the chatbots. I'll give you a few examples since we have got to 10 or 2 hours. One example that we are working on is a lot of driver behavior analytics, and we believe can change. For example, what we did is we installed the cameras inside the cabs that we use are there. They collect the videos of how the driver is behaving. Is he wearing his seatbelt while driving? Is he eating while driving? Is he talking on the phone while driving? And all of this data is getting collected at the edge itself on a tablet that is put there, the video, and there's a program which is continuously analyzing that and can generate an event which can go to the cab operator to say that look, the driver is eating while driving, or he's smoking while driving, or he's not having his hands on the driving wheel. Now this is something that we believe can make a difference in whether we have a good less number of accidents or reduce or improve how the driver drives, and that can make a big difference for the cab operators and for the people who are using it. Similarly, another example. This is another example that we are working on. Again, this was in fact for a company in South Africa where we did this, and we want to bring it here also. Is where we had cameras installed again in a bus, and both camera inside what is there in the bus and outside also. Now it is a regulatory requirement, in fact, there that the bus operators collect the data of all the video recording of what was there in the bus. And today those recordings are manually looked at by the people, where they miss out a lot of stuff. But really using using image and video analytics, we are able to figure out whether the bus driver was driving the bus properly. Did he start the bus when there was some passenger who was getting into the bus and the door wasn't properly closed? Was the bus? Was he driving? Was he smoking or was he eating? Similar kind of stuff. Similarly, of the video which are outside, did he stop the bus before the zebra crossing? Did he slow down when there was an intrusion? There was a person walking in front of the bus, or suddenly somebody crossed. Did he slow down the bus, or did he apply the accelerator to move forward really? So these are the kind of problems that we are currently working on using AI and ML, the video and image analytics, to help the system, analyze the videos and to figure out to improve or make the road safety on roads make more safe. Another area that we are currently working on as part of the CUBES is towards the retail industry. So we can count the number of people who are coming, how many people are inside the store, and all, and this data is available as live feed. Another thing that we do is we collect all this data from the Wi-Fi analytics. So if your Wi-Fi is on the phone, you don't even connect to any of the access point there. However, just if your Wi-Fi is on, they can figure out what's happening in the store and then run various programs in the store. This is another example of the retail where we are looking at there's cameras which look at what are the store, the inventory. One of the typical problems store managers face is when do we replenish things inside the store, and through this image analytics we are able to figure out where are the empty cabins inside the store, and it could trigger that these are the bins which are empty and you need to replenish those. Again, in the retail industry, at times they want to know what is the gender, what is the people who are using it. Are they young people? Are they middle-aged people? Are they older people who are coming into the store? Which sections of the area, what kind of people are spending time on? So this is one of the solutions which, looking at the picture, being able to analyze and figure out what the age category is and use those to really make those categorize those people who are coming to the store into certain age categories, let's say young, middle-aged, older, and then run campaigns based on those. So this is another example where we are using analytics in the OTT industry. All of us watch videos in our phones. Now, how is it possible that we really see there is hardly any downtime which is there, but at times the quality is good, at times quality is bad. So this is one of those mechanisms, or this is a tool that we have, is what is the quality of the videos that you're getting on your phone, and if it is a bad quality, operator can start figuring out, for example, if you're using Hotstar, or Hotstar could start figuring out what are the reasons you are not getting a good quality on your phone. What could be the reasons that there is a problem in the network, and they could actually know when the network problems are going to be start coming in based on those predictive analytics, and be able to run certain things to fix those problems before they become big problems and the service is completely down. Told we have a paucity of time, so we are going to just quickly wrap it up. I'll just skip most of this stuff. Internet of Things is another area that we are focusing on. This is something which is becoming, we all see it around. However, there's some new trends coming in, especially with things like artificial intelligence, machine learning getting integrated. Blockchain is another area which is getting integrated. Security is another major issue which is coming in, as we believe, and we are working on that with the IoT area, because most of the devices currently that are there in the IoT, these are unsecured devices. How do you make those devices secure? And we are working extensively on those. I'll just skip these. Blockchain, as I said, is one area that we are focusing on, and blockchain is another technology we believe is something that is going to be a major disruptor in coming years. It is something that is making not just it is much more known for the Bitcoin industry or the crypto currency, but it's something that's getting applied in all areas of life. As I talked about it, IoT, we are looking at using blockchain. And the prime reason for this, what we believe, is the data that gets stored in the blockchain is cryptographically stored. It's very secure, very, very difficult to modify, and extremely safe. So that is where it is changing. And for example, using things like smart contracts, it is all the stuff that we do can be stored in the blockchain, making it safe, it's immutable, cannot be modified by anyone, and we can usually safely transact this using it. So there are two areas currently that we are focusing on. One is the fintech part, which is what blockchain was very famous about. So we are working on something which is for the SWIFT kind of a thing for a blockchain, which is like different currencies in the blockchain can communicate with the exchange. So that's the fintech part. In the non-fintech part, we are working on one is which is to build a system. For example, in the used car industry, it is very difficult for when you go and buy a used car. Is it processing happened, every part, the 3 parts were used. So that's one area that we are working on in the blockchain. So I'll end this session here. As somebody mentioned, I was mentioned earlier, it's a very exciting time for the technology people. There's a lot of stuff which is happening using the technology, and there are a lot of things which are there which is enabling us, whether it is processing power availability, whether it's availability of the data, whether it is availability of the research which has happened in the last 30 years being available to us. Now it's bringing all these things together to really transform the life of the people and transform the way things are. So thank you, and wish you all the best. And
thank you so much, sir, for your informative share. Now I would like to invite and request Dr. Laviraj Gupta, Executive Dean, Lovely Professional University, to kindly come on stage and honor our keynote speaker, Mr. Gopala Krishna Balahalli, Vice President, Digital Engineering at Cognizant Technology Solutions, by presenting him a memento. Let's hear it, please, with a big round of applause. I would now like to request Dr. Laviraj Gupta and Dr. Harpal Theti to honor our guest speaker, Mr. Let's hear it for Mr. Gopala Krishnan. Now I would like to request Dr. Laviraj Gupta to facilitate guest speaker, Mr. Manikandan Thangaratnan, Director Engineering, Amazon. With a big round of applause, please. Now I would like to request Dr. Laviraj Gupta to kindly acknowledge our guest speaker, Mr. Nixon Joseph, President CEO, SBI Foundation, by presenting him a memento. A huge round of applause for Mr. Nixon Joseph. Now I would like to request Dr. Laviraj Gupta to kindly present a memento to our next guest speaker, Mr. Vivek Iyer, Vice President, Head Product Management, Kony, India. A big round of applause for Mr. Vivek Iyer. Now, I request Dr. Laviraj Gupta to please acknowledge our next guest speaker, Mr. Tarun Singhal, Vice President, Head Engineering, Hughes System Corporation. Let's hear it for Mr. Tarun Singhal. I would now like to request Dr. Laviraj Gupta to facilitate our guest speaker, Brigadier H. Chakrabarti, Executive Vice President, Hinduja Foundation. With a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Can we now have all the speakers together for a group photograph, please? Let's hear it for all the speakers. Thank you, sir. May I please request Dr. Harpal Theti, Head Career Services, Lovely Professional University, to please come on the dais and deliver a vote of thanks.
Morning. Good morning. It's my proud privilege to be standing here to deliver the word of thanks. As people say, coming together is just the beginning, but then staying together and working together is where we can make difference. With that motive, when we started planning for this session, we thought that we will have people, personnel from the industry who have been there, done that, seen that, and have brought the changes. I'm happy, glad, proud that we could pull this session so nicely. I would like to thank each one of the dignitaries sitting on the dais who have taken time from their busy schedules to come down and be with us. I hope we lived up to the expectation. I would also like to thank for the audience. Yes, because the entire deliberation is as good as the audience. So we would like to appreciate that fact as well. So thank you so very much. I would like to thank my team who has done enormous work at the back and have pulled up the show so nicely. Thank you so much. God bless. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for posing the vote of thanks. Also, once again, thanks to all the dignitaries present here for their words of wisdom. The opinions shared today will help us in crucial role in sustaining scientific and managerial fervor among one and all present. Each one of us will take this legacy forward. Ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, let's once again thanks for all the speakers for being here with us today. Proceeding forward, it's a request for all to be seated, please, because there's an important announcement. Srimati Smriti Irani, Ministry of Textiles, will be with us shortly. So it's a request to all the students to be seated for the next part of 106th Indian Science Congress here at lovely Professional University.
कमर किधर गया?
लिखिए सर मैंने जी सर
माइक फड़ाया
ठीक है सर कितने बजे सर जी अभी जी सर
हेलो
जी सर right sir right sir.
I would like to make an important announcement for all the people who are present in the house. This is to inform that in the next few minutes we are going to have one of the cabinet ministers of India, Madam Smriti Irani, coming here. So I would like to request you all to kindly have some patience and settle down. I would like to request the people at our doors to kindly make sure that there is no ruckus around. And I would like to request the volunteers to kindly make sure that the students are settled down and the delegates are shown the seats. Thank you. I would like to repeat the announcement made. I would like to request the students and the delegates who are leaving the auditorium that we are going to have the Cabinet Minister of Indian Government, Madam Smriti Irani, coming here in the next few minutes. So I would like to request all the people in the house to kindly maintain the decorum of the auditorium